Yeah. But I mean, bonus round is if you have time to read materials on classroom management, those are actually surprisingly helpful. So there's a lot of really great research in the education field that I think, because there's no well, maybe now there is. I'm too far removed from college to know if there's like majors in community development. I'm sure there is by now. But I think if anyone is like really wanting to nerd out on like this topic, don't sleep on things that are tangentially related. Like education, I think is something that everyone in community should read, is like maybe classroom management books, because it really does translate.
That's pretty cool. I have another one just to add, and you might even be familiar with him. Jay Bear.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote this book, Hug Your Haters. That's one I'd probably recommend for anybody. It's more what is it? I think customer service oriented, but a lot of the like studies that he does and everything else in there too can really relate back into community development and management. And I mean, calling your book "Hug Your Haters" is exactly what it does. And kind of like some of the examples you provided earlier too, saying how you could just turn people. So. That's just another bonus one I figure I'd throw out there too. But that is one I would never expected. What you said is classroom management and things along that line.
Oh yeah, I had students like I literally had a student put another student in a locker. There was one time where this kid threw a desk. Like I had a very interesting first couple of years of teaching, and it taught me a lot. But again, I think mitigate that kindness with, again, and it's a form of like self-respect. You have to know what you are willing to be okay with and what you're not, because community work can be so grueling at times and so tiring at times. You have to understand your own boundaries, because if you don't, you will just be continuously exhausted. And so that's the other thing. Like, know your boundaries for your community, but also for yourself. Like, personally, I know, and pretty much everyone who associates with me online knows, I pretty much don't go on Discord on the weekends. I will stay away because that's my mental time. So I think when I say like be kind and everything, but also like be kind to yourself, set your expectations for yourself so that you can better, serve the communities that you're a part of.
Man, that's another good bonus one too. Set expectations for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Well, Jenny,
it's certainly been our most economically sound closing points. We got a lot of really good bonus ones out of that. Quite a bargain.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, I go into like literally. I can feel like my teacher self starting to turn on, just being like, "Okay, let me get the whiteboard out and a nice."
I think it's perfect.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, you make an excellent point, and that overlap can definitely not be it can't be overstated. It's the industry's too new not to look to other things to figure out how we best do what we're doing.
Exactly. All right. Well, Jenny, before we wrap up and close here, well, first we wanted to say thank you again, but also, what is the best way that people can reach out to you, learn more about Rose City and the games that you're making, and so what are some links and stuff that we could share with the rest of our listeners?
So to find Rose City Games, we're on Twitter is probably the place we are most active, and that's just at Rose City Games. And we have two games that we're like most actively working on right now. The first is Garden Story, which is a title that we're helping publish by Picogram. They're the solo dev on it. And if folks look up at Garden Story Game, they'll see a really cute title about who is protecting their community and rebuilding it. It's like the most adorable thing. I followed this title before I even worked at Rose City Games, so I'm like over the moon that I get to help with the publishing component. And then we're also developing a title at Rose City, and it's called Floppy Nights. And this is for folks who like sort of a retro tech meets like fantasy title that mashes up like card games and tactical games. And so that's at Floppy Nights on Twitter and Instagram. And then, people can, if they have any questions for me specifically, again, Twitter is kind of like the place I think most of us hang out in the industry. And I'm just at Kimchika25. And I also stream at twitch.tv/Kimchika. So, yeah. Keeping busy.
That you are. And in light of that, we definitely appreciate you making the time for Mustafa and I to ask these questions about how to create a healthy community. So thank you again for all this. It's been great to have you.
Thank you. It's been really great talking with you both.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hey, everybody, and thanks again for listening to Indie Game Movement, the podcast that talks about the marketing and business of indie games. Hey, if you want to check out the show notes for this episode, feel free to do so by going to indiegamemovement.com. And I just want to thank our podcast producer, Mustafa Price, and give a special thanks to Taisuke Kimura, who composed the theme, and Donnie Wilson for the logo design. Just really appreciate your help and hard work, guys. If you have any questions or suggestions for the podcast, feel free to email us at igm@rengenmarketing.com. Rengen Marketing is a company that I co-founded that provides consulting services to indie devs. And on our website, we also provide really helpful, in-depth content on our blog. And we also have a free marketing plan template that you guys can use for your next game. So thanks again for listening right here on Indie Game Movement.